Aromantic, Arrow. So your cousin was getting married, and after months of preparation and being a bridezilla, the D-Day has finally arrived. The happy couples are saying their vows, people are crying, love songs are playing, and everyone's feeling the romance. Except you. Instead, you're busy admiring the floral arrangements, checking out the buffet, and wondering why everyone else is crying their eyes out. This is basically how people who identify as aromantic feel when they see everybody else catching feelings. Being aromantic means you experience little to no romantic attraction towards others. To them, big romantic gestures seem as baffling as advanced calculus. And while other people talk about how they get butterflies in their stomach when they have a crush, the idea of romance gives you as much thrill as your tax return. Now, it's not like arrows can't have friendships, family bonds, or even relationships. It's just that they don't feel that extra layer of romantic love that makes people swoon, write sonnets, or plan candlelit dinners. To arrows, love can be platonic after all. Demiromantic. For the past 3 months, you've been steadily talking to this guy you met on Instagram. You guys share memes, laugh at jokes, and literally fall asleep talking to yourselves. But the thing is, there has been no conversation about a romantic relationship, just two people having great fun and conversation. However, you both decide to finally meet physically and know if the vibes are actually authentic. And the minute you see him, you're suddenly hit with a strange, fluttery feeling that you've never felt before. This sudden intense attraction is happening because you are Demiromantic, and you typically don't experience romantic attractions until you've developed a close emotional bond with someone. It's like needing the friendship appetizer before even thinking about the romance main course. For Demiromantics, there's absolutely nothing like love at first sight, because for them, romance takes time, patience, and a solid connection. So it's more like love at the 1000th sight. You might start as friends, acquaintances, or co-workers, but romance is off limits until you feel really close to someone. This might affect other people in their lives because it may seem like their feelings are not being reciprocated, but that is totally not the case. Demiromantics are just more into slow burn and deep connections than a fleeting, exciting crush. And because of this depth, a demiromantic falling in love is about as common as spotting a unicorn, but just as special. Lithromantic or a Qromantic. Picture being a spectator at a sports game, cheering on your favorite team from the stands, enjoying the thrill of the game, and feeling all the highs and lows without ever wanting to be on the field yourself. But here, instead of a football field, we're talking about relationships, and you are still the spectator enjoying the show from the stands. That's basically what Lithromantic is about. So here's how it works. You'd actually experience a romantic attraction to someone, but you don't necessarily want it returned, nor do you need to act on it. For Lithromantics, the thrill is in the feeling and the idea of liking someone rather than the follow-through. So even if you daydream about romance, the only one you're willing to entertain is inside your head. The fantasy of romance is fun and exciting, but the actual reality is a hard pass for you. In other words, you may catch feelings, but if those feelings are reciprocated or things start getting romantically serious, that attraction usually vanishes. Think of it as the romantic version of a non-refundable ticket. You're in for the experience, but you're not sticking around for the end of the show. So if you're Lithromantic, you're the ultimate look but don't touch of romance. You can appreciate the idea of love without needing the reality, and you're perfectly fine with a one-sided spark. Qromantic or WTF Romantic. Imagine this, you're having a very interesting conversation with your friend in school about romance, and someone asks who your crush is. Now you're just sitting there wondering what the F a crush even means, because to you, romance feels as mystifying as a tax form written in hieroglyphics. This is what it means to be Qromantic, aka WTF Romantic, where you're stuck asking the eternal question, what even is romance anyway? You see, being Qromantic means you either don't experience romantic attraction, or you find it nearly impossible to tell the difference between romantic and platonic feelings. Romance is confusing, ambiguous, or simply doesn't seem to apply to you. And even when you try to ask questions about it and someone says, you'll just know when you're in love, but chances are you would probably want to pull your hair out because you really wouldn't know, and that's the whole issue. For Qromantics, romance might feel like trying to understand an inside joke you weren't around for. It's so confusing, and you really don't see what all the fuss is about. Reciproromantic. When the word recipro is used in a sentence, then you should understand that it simply means to do the same as. So basically, people who are reciproromantic would only start to feel a romantic attraction towards someone only when they know the person loves them back. You'd typically not feel any kind of romantic attraction for someone until they first expressed interest in you. Think of it as the you go first policy of romance. It's like a car ignition. Until someone sparks things with their own attraction, your engine just isn't going to rev up. However, once you know there's mutual interest, your feelings may start to catch up, sometimes quickly, sometimes gradually. In reciproromantic relationships, the back and forth of feelings is essential, and knowing that affection is mutual provides security and clarity, making the romantic bond feel more solid. They may also seek regular reassurance or validation of interest from their partner, but that doesn't mean they're insecure, it's simply how their feelings stay engaged. Cupid Romantic. So you went to the movie theater to see the new romance movie everyone seems to be talking about. The main characters are going all out for themselves and love, going on cute dates, sharing inside jokes, and even dancing under the stars. Now, anyone who loves the idea of romance would do something like that in their life. However, if you are Cupid Romantic, yours would come with a little twist. Basically, you'd enjoy doing romantic things like going on picnics and dancing under the stars, but you don't actually feel any sort of love towards anyone. You simply don't experience romantic attraction, but you still want a romantic relationship just because of all the activities that you can do in them. To put it simply, you like the idea of falling in love, but do not want to fall in love with anyone. Now, while this might sound a little confusing, it's just like loving the idea of going on a road trip, even if you're not sure you have a destination. The vibe of romance is appealing, you just don't need the attraction. It's like you're in the romance world as an observer, loving the charm and the companionship, but leaving the crushes and butterflies to everyone else. You're basically more interested in the partnership and companionship aspects rather than the intense love-struck phase. You don't feel the spark, but are open to sharing experiences and creating memories. Fray Romantic. Picture this. You're out there living your best life, and suddenly you catch some romantic feelings for someone new. They're funny and interesting, and your heart skips that little bit. But the catch is that the spark starts to fizzle like soda left overnight as you get closer and more familiar. Yep, if you've ever experienced this, then you might be Fray Romantic. Being Fray Romantic means you would and can feel romantic attractions towards someone initially, especially if they're new or mysterious. But as you get to know them better, that attraction tends to pack their bags and leave. Think of it as the novelty-only romance setting. If most people get more interested the closer they become, Fray Romantics are basically the opposite. The deeper the bond, the less they feel romantically attached. However, it is not that there is something wrong with the person as you get closer, it's just that for you, romance doesn't tend to stick around once the mystery fades. Platon Romantic. Imagine you're watching a classic rom-com, but instead of falling head over heels into romantic love, you're just vibing with a deep friendship. In fact, that connection is exactly what you want, that deep best friend bond with someone, not a heart-throbbing romance. Being Platono-romantic means you feel an intense, loving connection with others that feels almost like romance, but without any actual romantic attraction. For you, it's all about the platonic side, and those strong bonds can feel deeply satisfying without ever crossing into crush territory. You might even do things that look like date activities, going on long walks, sharing deep conversations, and being there for each other in tough times, but all with that sweet friendship energy. Think of it like having a soulmate, but not one you need to cuddle with or kiss. You might want to share your life with this person, but in a way that's all about platonic love and devotion, rather than the passion-driven romance that others might crave. However, since Platono-romantic relationships can be emotionally intense, the Platono-romantic person might occasionally feel misunderstood by others who assume they're in a traditional romantic relationship. Friends, family, or even the person they're close to might misinterpret their connection as romantic, leading to confusion, awkwardness, or questions that the Platono-romantic individual isn't necessarily prepared to answer. Idem Romantic. Idem Romantic is one of those identities that sounds like a superpower, but in reality, it's all about how a person experiences the lack of variation in a romantic attraction. It basically means that you experience romantic attraction in a very consistent and unchanging way. No roller coaster of emotions or fluctuating levels of romantic interest for you. Once you feel romantic attraction, it's more or less the same intensity no matter what. It is the opposite of on-again, off-again romantic attraction and is more like a set-it-and-forget-it deal. There's no ebb and flow, no hot and cold. It's like setting a thermostat on your feelings. The temperature doesn't fluctuate and remains at a steady, consistent level. Basically, you're pretty much always going to feel that way at the same level until something significantly changes. There's no, I like them one day, I'm not sure the next, which can be a relief for some people who just want consistency in their romantic lives. However, those who enjoy emotional highs and lows in romantic relationships might view the Idem Romantic person as emotionally distant because their feelings don't seem to change or intensify. Fto Romantic. So let's say you woke up one day and feel totally in love with someone. You're talking about him to all your friends, gushing about how he makes you smile, and convinced you've met your soulmate. In fact, you're so crazy in love that you're heading over to his house every single day to cook, clean, and take care of him. But then after a week of doing this, you suddenly wake up one morning and everything you felt for this person has just vanished. You really don't like him at all anymore. In fact, your attractions might have completely switched to someone else entirely. This is essentially what it means to be very romantic. Your romantic feelings are as fluid as water and can shift depending on the individual you're dealing with, their gender, your current circumstances, or other factors. It's kind of like a romantic mood swing with no set romantic direction or permanent attraction to any specific person for any specific period of time. You could be feeling romantic towards one person one week and then feel no romantic attraction at all the next, even if the person is still in your life. If you are very romantic, you might notice that your romantic feelings are more about the individual than a consistent attraction to a certain type of person. You could be completely in love with a woman today, and tomorrow you're head over heels in love with an older man. Basically, you do not have a type. It's like having a taste for something different every time you go to a restaurant instead of sticking to one dish. However, the problem with this type of a romantic identity is that there is no consistency or steadiness in your romantic life, and this can cause a lot of problems for you and every single person you just fall in love with. Cade Romantic. So, 6 years ago, you almost walked down the aisle with the man of your dreams, your literal soulmate who understood and connected with you in a way nobody could. However, 2 days before the wedding, he got into a ghastly car accident and died on the spot. Ever since then, you've not dated anyone else, and the idea of even being in a relationship is scarier than jumping into an ocean full of sharks. Basically, this is what being Cade Romantic is, and it is very complex. You see, people who identify as Cade Romantic typically experience a form of romantic attraction, but there's a twist. They feel as though this attraction has been cut off or altered due to past trauma or significant emotional events. Imagine your romantic attraction is like a light switch. For many people, it's either on or off, depending on the person or situation. But for Cade Romantics, it's more like someone's messed with the wiring. It might flicker on briefly, glow faintly, or be so dim you're not even sure it's working at all. This flickering is often a reaction to past experiences, especially difficult or traumatic ones, that changed how they feel or think about romance. Simply put, Cade Romantic individuals may feel and get some form of romantic feelings even after their trauma. The only problem would be the emotional serration or disconnection they'll feel. Sometimes the ideas of falling in love or romance might feel off-putting, scary, and stressful. If you love everything that you've watched on this channel, then quickly head to our store to shop all or some of our amazing merch and support your favorite creators. Gray Romantic. For people who are gray romantics, attraction is like a very rare Pokemon that might pop up every now and then, but it's not something they encounter every day. This is because you only feel romantic attraction occasionally, weekly, or under very specific circumstances. It's not that you never feel it, it's just that it's really specific. Like, only if this person shares a really niche hobby and maybe quotes your favorite movie specific. It's a high bar, but when it's met, you might feel a spark. You see, the term gray indicates that your romantic feelings may be somewhere between aromantic and romantic on the aromantic spectrum. You don't get crushes or fall madly in love with people like others do, and even when you do feel a romantic attraction, it's still not enough to dedicate your whole life to it. Love to you is fleeting and not intense because you're just as likely to get excited about a new video game or a trip to your favorite cafe as you are about seeing your crush. However, gray romantic individuals still feel deep-level connections with their friends, but not the type of attraction that involves the desire for a romantic behavior or a sense of romantic love. Fto Romantic. Imagine reading your favorite novel, watching a movie, or playing a game, and you're totally drawn to a character. They're perfect in all their fictional glory. They're adventurous, funny, mysterious, or all of the above. For Fto Romantics, these fictional figures aren't just characters. They can inspire real feelings of romantic attraction. It's not about not liking real people, but that fictional worlds offer something unique, a safe, imaginative space for romance without real-world complications. Basically, your most intense crushes tend to be on people who don't exist in real life, and you might find yourself daydreaming about being with a character and picturing what it'd be like to interact with them as if they were real. However, people who are Fto Romantic still end up in real relationships. It's just that, for them, the fiction-first attraction is something they really relate to, and the real people have to measure up to the flawless or sometimes tragically flawed characters in their hearts.